I have another song called 22 Brothers that is less influenced by my military service directly and more influenced by my participation in the veteran community, which continues to suffer the mental wounds and anguish of. And the stat comes from, the idea that 22 veterans a day commit suicide, and it's a hugely disputed number. And the VA especially likes to dispute that number and argue about that number, that it's too high, that it should be closer to 17 or 18 a day. And I think that is a red herring, because the real stat is that vets are 50% more likely to commit suicide. And 22 is just it's a symbol at this point. It's become a symbol to the point where the veteran community says, so-and-so joined the 22. And the indifference and the way that the indifference in political leadership and the indifference in military in the media and the ignorance of the general populace infuriates me. There's a line in that song that says, 22 brothers took their lives today between the praise and parades and the accolades. And what I mean by that in that song is Veterans Day and Memorial Day come and go, and everyone wants to say, rah, rah, support the vets. And they put the flags along the, and they wave the flags, they have these parades, and nothing changes. I look at charitable organizations that say they support the vets, like the VFW, the American Legion, the Elks. I'm a member of the Elks.
Are you a member of any other veterans organizations?
But I do a lot with them. But and I think that their hearts are in the right place, and I think that they're good in the sense that they provide a camaraderie and a sense of community. But in terms of how they're actually helping the vets, I ask, what do you do to actually honor veterans, to help them? And consistently, I hear, we put on an event for Veterans Day, and we go out and we put flags on tombs, and we do veteran funerals, and it's all this stuff that you would do to honor them after they're already dead. And the thing that continues to frustrate me about these historic organizations is, what are you doing for the living who need your help? And there are some great organizations that are doing that, but these organizations realize they can't go through the historic ones. They can't go through the VA the VFW to accomplish these goals, or the Legion, or the Elks, or the Eagles, or any of these organizations, because they're so focused on dealing with the dead and honoring the dead that they're doing nothing to honor the living or help the living. So you have organizations like 22 Until None or Mission 22 that are these small grassroots organizations that raise tons of money to provide therapy and assistance. There's a farm there's this group called the Disgruntled Veteran Farm in Pennsylvania. They saw that there's a huge need for homeless vets or vets who are addicted. So what they do is they bring veterans to a working farm, and they provide them with a livable wage, and they help them to get clean and get them job skills and get them employed elsewhere so they can move out of that farm. But so many of these veteran organizations, all they care about is rah, rah, let's support our vets. And I keep saying, but what does that mean? And how do we support the living? And by and large, it's nothing. And for me personally, I suffered with severe depression and suicidal ideology. I wanted to kill myself for years, for decades. A lot of that predates the military, but it was certainly exacerbated by the military. And there were times while I was in the Army that I thought about taking that rifle and off of myself. And there's a hopelessness and a despair that's involved in that you can't see. You don't see clearly. You don't see things as they really are. You see them through the eyes of emotion, and the emotion becomes real. So how are we helping these people who are seeing a false reality to see truth, to see that they're loved. And one of the things I keep hearing from veterans over and over and over and over and over again is, especially veterans with severe combat-related PTSD, they just want people to listen to them. And people say, we support our vets. And then the vets start letting the walls down and saying, these are the things I've seen and these are the things that I've dealt with. These are my demons. And the response that they keep hearing is, that's too much for me. I can't handle that. Well, I'm sorry, if you can't handle listening to that, imagine living it. And that pisses me off to no end. But we support our troops.